Back to the daily grind. The channel's getting false flagged by triggered trolls, so make sure you subscribe to the new channel. Let's get to the MMA news. Nick Diaz is coming out and he's blasting USADA. Nick Diaz and USADA have never been on the best terms. If you remember, he was suspended for 5 years just for having weed in his system after his Anderson Silva fight. After that, fans went on to sign petitions. He had to get like 100,000 signatures to get his shit overturned. It was a tremendous success, man. Everybody was supporting him. Joe Rogan, everybody was coming out and talking about how bullshit the USADA case was against Nick Diaz. They ended up shortening his suspension to about, I believe, 2 years, 3 years, which he actually served. But since then, he still hasn't been able to return to the octagon. He was cleared to return, entered the testing pool, everything was fine, and then he got popped again. But this time, it wasn't for the same thing. This time when he got popped, it was for whereabouts failures. It wasn't for any drugs actually being in his system. But with USADA, you have to tell them where you're going to be for like the entire 6 months in advance, 3 months in advance. I think it's 3 months in advance. You have to tell them exactly where you're going to be for the next 3 months. And that's the entire day. So if you're a fighter like the Diaz brothers, who have a lot of appearances, they get, they're in the cannabis industry, the weed industry. They have a lot of appearances there. They do signings, they do shows, they do, they do all type of shit. They go to clubs, them type of walkthroughs and stuff. So Nick and Nate Diaz, they're low-key stars outside of the octagon. Outside of the octagon. So with that being said, they're not. It's not as easy for a star to know exactly where they're going to be every day for the next 3 months. But with that being said, it is a rule, though. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. It is a rule. So just the fact that it's a rule and these guys all signed the contract, you have to keep that in mind, because whenever USADA came into the picture, every single fighter had to sign the contract and say that I understand, I'm going to be tested and blah, blah, blah to keep the sport clean. So they signed the papers. So as much as you might be on the side of weed, I love weed, man. I just quit for a little while, but that's not the thing. I'm not against weed. But at the same time, when there's rules and you break the rules, there can be repercussions and consequences. So I understand when those repercussions come, you might be a little angry, triggered, salty. But at the same time, it's rules and repercussions, baby. Move on and deal with that shit. That's how life is. Deal with it and roll on. So what happened was Nick Diaz was given a 6 month, another suspension by USADA, this time for whereabouts failures. This one is 6 months to 2 years, and it's for them trying to find Nick Diaz at certain locations and him not being there. So that had to happen 3 times. 3 times, and then it counts as you failing a test. So 3 times they went and looked for Nick Diaz at wherever he was supposed to be, and he wasn't there. And listen to what Nick Diaz had to say about that situation. He said, "They know where I'm at, though. Somebody over there is not doing their job. I mean, realistically, they showed up to one of my dispensary signs. Like I said, I got to do what I can with what I have to work with when I'm not fighting. The whole cannabis industry is a hit right now. So yeah, I'll book an appearance over there and I'll go smoke a bunch of weed and it's a good time. So of course, word is out, I'm going to be here. They show up." So, I mean, just that right there, it explains. I mean, it makes sense. It does make sense. He does have a lot of cannabis signings, club signings. He shows up at the club. If you go to watch his Snapchat, he'll be at parties. And I'm sure he's not just going there because he's a party animal. These guys are getting paid to show up. They tell you, "Oh, shoot, it's the Diaz brothers. Hey, I tell you what, I'll give you $10,000 just to show up and, show up and party a little bit tonight." You gonna tell me you wouldn't take $10,000 to party? I mean, it's not like these guys are just partying for free, wasting their money. They're getting paid to show up, sign autographs, be the face, So a lot of people give these guys slack, calling lazy potheads and all of this shit. That's not what's going on. These dudes are getting money. These guys are probably making more money than the guys fighting in the octagon. As fight fans, of course, we want to see them fighting. But as human being fans, you have to be happy that they're doing what they feel is best for their fucking lives, their careers outside of the octagon, because both of these guys are past the age of 30. I mean, Nate Diaz might be 29, but I'm pretty sure both of them are past the age of 30. Nick Diaz is actually like 35, 36. So, I mean, realistically, how much longer are they going to be fighting in the octagon? And since they're not Conor McGregor yet, they don't have pay-per-view points. They're not the champions. They don't have, even though they're fan favorites, they're not crossover star fan favorites. You know, the GSP, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey fans, they're not all fans of Nick and Nate Diaz. You know, a lot of those guys aren't fans of the fuck the world attitude. You know, these guys are known for throwing up fingers and fuck you and, you know, all that shit and standing up to the man, and that's fine. I like it. I'm a fan of that shit. I'm a fan of the Diaz brothers. But at the same time, I understand both sides. I'm usually even-keeled on pretty much everything. I'm an understanding person. So I understand if you're pissed off at Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz for not fighting in the octagon. And I also understand where they're coming from, making money to show up to places. Would you rather get paid $10,000 to show up and get possibly beat up or have to fight or injured? Even if you win the fight, you can get injured. Or $10,000 to show up, sit on your ass, and smoke a bowl? It's not fucking hard. It's not hard. You can't fault these guys if they're getting paid more money to smoke weed than they are to fucking fight in the octagon. What do most of these champions do? They look for the easiest fight possible for the most money. What's an easier fight than no fight at all for the most money? You're telling me you can get paid for no fight? Okay, a lot of these guys get into fighting because they don't have other opportunities, because this is what they choose to do because they don't know what else to do. They feel like this is their only opportunity, even though that's not always the case. That's definitely the case for Nick and Nate Diaz. That's how they felt when they got into this sport. They got into this sport training for food. Hey, if you come to judo class today, I'll buy you lunch with the guys. So that's why they started training, to make money, to get out of to better their situation, not to become the greatest fighter of all time like someone like Tyron Woodley or, you know, these guys who don't care about the money as much as they do their legacy. You know, when Tyron Woodley fought Kelvin Gastelum and Kelvin Gastelum missed weight by 10 pounds, Tyron Woodley still beat him and gave him his money back and said, hey, here you go, man. I'm not here for the money. I'm here for my legacy, for a champion, to be the best fighter of all time. Nick and Nate Diaz, that's not the case. It's the opposite. They want the money. If they can get $1 million to fight whoever, they're going to take it. Like Nate Diaz. A lot of people say, oh, why isn't he fighting all the contenders? Because they're going to offer, if he plays his cards right, he might fuck around and make 10 times the money he would make fighting Khabib and Ferguson fighting McGregor for the lightweight title. Not only is he's going to be fighting for the championship, he's going to be fighting for more money than he could make in any other fight, and he's going to be setting not only just him, his family up, his brother. That McGregor, Nate Diaz, he calls Nick Diaz, his brother, his fearless leader. They say, what's next? I don't know. I'm just going to know Nick Diaz is my fearless leader. I'm going to talk to him, and we're going to see what's going on. So when Nate Diaz is making all this money in these Conor McGregor fights, he's not just using it to go buy jet skis and boats and and blunt sticks that people think he's buying. No, yeah, they smoke weed, but that's got nothing to do with what they're doing inside or outside of the octagon. It's a personal choice, and honestly, that shit's medication. I'm telling you what. I mean, I'm not going to go into a fucking whole weed diatribe here, but I'm telling you, that shit does medicate. And some people use it for the euphoric effect and only for casual smoking and for entertainment, whatever the fuck, but it actually medicates a lot of fucking people's daily ailments with just not only physical and mental shit, anxiety type shit. So you can, and I can go really far into that if I wanted to, but I'll say this is an MMA talk right here, so maybe on the Big Brother Beatdown we'll have a conversation like that. So it is what it is, man. I'm fine with this right here. Honestly, Nick Diaz, I'm going to repeat what he said one more time before I get out of here. They know where I'm at, though. Somebody over there is not doing their job. I mean, realistically, they showed up to one of my dispensary signings. Like I said, I got to do what I can with what I have to work with when I'm not fighting. The whole cannabis industry thing right now is a hit, so yeah, I'll book an appearance over there, and I'll go and smoke a bunch of weed, and it's a good time. So, of course, word is out I'm going to be here, they show up. So, maybe that is something USADA needs to look into. If it's a star fighter like a Conor McGregor, a Nate Diaz, a Nick Diaz, a Ronda Rousey, maybe they're not going to be exactly where they say they're going to be. They're doing other things outside of training all day because they have that opportunity. And he said that the cannabis thing is a hit right now. Someone in the comments was saying the cannabis thing isn't going to be a hit for a long time because some big business is going to come in, corner the market, because right now it's just dominated by a bunch of heads and thugs and some doctors, but they're saying big business is going to corner that market. So who knows how long the cannabis industry is going to be a hit? Who knows how long people like Nick and Nate Diaz and Anthony Rumble Johnson are going to be able to get money in this industry? You know what they say, you got to get it while the getting's good. So these guys are doing that. 3 years from now, if he was just fighting and training, 3 years from now, who's to say they'd be able to make this same money in the cannabis industry? You can't do that, so you can't fault these guys for making money outside of fighting. I mean, you can, and I'm fine with you. If you're one of those fucking no nonsense, I don't want to hear anything but fighting. You signed up to fight? Get in there and fight. Okay, well, take that shit in the comments. That's fine. I'm not going to fucking bash you because you have that weird ass opinion. I just don't agree with you. These dudes are doing what the fuck they can to better their life, and that's all you can ask from any motherfucking human being on this planet. What the fuck you mad, dude? And I looked at the MMA hour, man. I'm probably going to cover these topics first because they got a lineup that just, I don't know. It's not huge because the UFC is going through a lull. MMA is going through an entire lull this month while Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather happened. Sorry about that. They're going through a lull right now. There's not many fights. There's no UFC events the entire August from here on out. Besides that Mexico City card, they're taking the rest of the month off. So all we're going to have is Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. So with that being said, you know I'm watching those. But with that being said, we got Bellator 182, 183 coming up at the end of the month. 182, 183 in September. 183 is going to be a really good Bellator card. So with that being said, there's really not much MMA news for now because it's Conor McGregor boxing news. But you know, with me, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have content. I can do versus the world. I can make some shit up and do some fantasy fights. I can do all type of shit. So I'm still going to be pumping out the content, unlike a lot of these other clowns that say, oh, there's not much news, so I'm just going to take some time off. No, it's a full-time grind. What the fuck you tell me? Full-time MMA, baby boy. What the fuck you mean? Subscribe to Full-Time MMA too, just in case you haven't yet, because, I mean, I understand you can do it once this shit gets shut down, but it puts a cherry on the top just to have everybody on the new channel for when this shit gets shut down, if it does, because it's going to piss that cuck off who's false flagging me more when he sees that we're not fucking going nowhere. He thought this shit was going to be shut down overnight, and he sees us moving to the new channel, and guess what? Once that one starts getting false flags, it does, which is probably not, because I'm appealing every single one of these bitches from here on out. Every single fucking false flag's getting appealed. I ain't fucking around. And even if they fucking don't work, I'm gonna motherfucking change a little bit, and it's full-time MMA again. Full-time MMA again. Full-time MMA again. I'm not fucking going nowhere, you motherfucking cut clown, so it is what it is. Let the haters know what the fuck you tell me in the comments, dude. I went bobsleighing the other day. Killed 250 bobs.